Hey guys, it's Pcol here, and today we are starting an Assassin's Creed playthrough, and I am joined by my friend Idi.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Yeah, he wanted to do an Assassin's Creed dual commentary series playthrough with me, and that's what we're doing because we're both massive Assassin's Creed nerds.
Correction, we're massive Assassin's Creed fans of the earlier games, not really of the newer games. The newer games
Yeah,
are
but we
a
still
step back
play
in
the
quality.
newer games, even though they were shit.
Yeah. And also, we want to specifically put specific Assassin's Creed games on our channel, so I'm currently doing AC2 with him at the moment, and for this recording, we're going to be doing AC1 on his channel. So
Yeah, because I'm the only one that actually has the ability to record it right now, because Ubisoft is stupid and hasn't re-released this game on PS4 or new consoles yet.
yeah, and this
And I
game
have a
definitely
PC and I
needs.
record the PC
Yeah.
version.
This game definitely needs a remaster on PS4. It needs it. This game is so good.
And I don't know if you saw, but Valhalla got a new update today, and they released Altair's outfit into Valhalla. So this is kind of a good time to play Altair's game.
I was not aware that was what the update was. Yeah. That's cool.
I think they're adding like a new mode too, but who really cares about that? Because Valhalla's a bad game.
Yeah, admittedly, it's better than Origins and Odyssey. But
yeah, but
as
it's still a war game.
Yeah, it's just very repetitive. It doesn't achieve the same level of story integrity and pacing as the older Assassin's Creed games. Like Assassin's Creed 1 handles its story very well. And in case you're not familiar with the story of Assassin's Creed, what's happening right now is this is essentially the Animus that you're seeing. So the Animus is essentially a device made by Abstergo using notes from the first civilization, which is a civilization that existed way before humans, that gives the user the ability to explore the genetic memories of his ancestors. So it's kind of building off of Carl Jung's theories of genetic memories. And what was happening just then was that Desmond Miles was being put into the Animus. So that device you're seeing right now that Desmond is sitting on is the Animus. And he was trying to connect to a later memory of Altair ibn al-Lahad in order to find a device known as the Apple of Eden, which is a first civilization relic that grants the user the ability to control the minds of others. And what's happening there is it did not allow him to do so, and I think the possible reasoning for that is because Altair was in a troubled state of mind. Is that why? Or is it because Desmond wasn't fully acclimated to these surroundings?
I think it is because, like, since this is the first game and, like, he was new to the Animus, it was just because he's, like, his mind refused to be Altair, because the Animus, it doesn't just, like, show you the memories, it basically helps you, like, become your ancestor, and you literally, like, step into their body, so his mind just refused to do that.
Yeah, and don't think of it as him controlling his ancestor. It gives the illusion of controlling your ancestor in order to allow proper synchronization, to make it seem like...
Basically, like, simulates muscle movements, so you think you're moving your arm, but you're not actually moving your arm.
And that process allows proper synchronization with the ancestor.
Live or die.
Yeah. So, right now, I have my audio turned off for the AC1 video so that it doesn't capture on my mic, but I think Pcol has his audio on at the moment.
I don't, because I have my headset connected to my PS4 controller and not my PC when I'm watching the video.
Yeah, but what's happening here is Warren Vidic, this guy on the right, he's explaining to Desmond what the Animus is. He's just giving you, it's basically like a tutorial, essentially. It's no different to what you got in Assassin's Creed 2 with, or not Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood with that tutorial mode. But right here, he's explaining how every single concept that the Animus is based on is based off of the idea of genetic memories, as I was explaining with Carl Jung.
Yeah, sure.
And
What if I told you
so he's talking about like how to essentially achieve synchronization with your ancestor and the basic gist of the Animus. And I think it's easily the most original concept ever for the idea of linking two timelines together in a game.
what to do?
Yeah, it's just, like, really interesting to, like, go into the past. Like, it's not just like time travel, it's literally just like you're going into the past through your ancestors' body and memories.
Yeah, and then they also try to add in a bit of complex psychology into the mix in order to give us a reasoning as to why we have to play from the beginning of the game all the way to that point at which Abstergo was trying to access. And the mystique involved with this is really, really done well. I mean, they lost this mystique with like, when would you say the mystique of the Assassin's Creed games was just lost?
Probably like AC3, honestly, because AC3 is when the series started to like stop taking itself as seriously as it did and just like start being dumb.
I don't know. I think it was more so with Unity's case, more so than AC3. I feel like the modern day segments, they don't add anything to Assassin's Creed Unity, so all that mystique that was built with the modern day is just completely lost because they don't bother focusing on that.
Like, Unity's modern day, like, literally makes the entire game pointless, because in Unity, you're trying to find, like, the body of, like, a dead sage, but you don't know where he is, or, like, where his body is. And then at the end of the game, you just find out that his body is just, like, buried amongst like, thousands of other bodies in the catacombs of Paris. So it's just like, well done, his body is buried amongst other people, and Abstergo will never find his body. So it's completely useless.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no point.
Yeah, like, you walk away from Unity just feeling like you've been conned, and just been, like, honey-duked, essentially.
And this is just me messing around at loading screens, because even on PC, the loading screens on this game were, like, so long. But I think also at this point they're just, like, talking, because for some reason the Animus has a voice in this game.
I mean, it's probably no different to the likes of Siri, for instance. I mean, it seems like a very advanced AI system, and I'm still questioning how exactly did Abstergo get their hands on a prototype Animus, or even the designs in general?
I mean, it's based off, like, first Civ tech, so they didn't, like, find, like, a blueprint of it. I think they just found, like, first Civ technology that, like, allowed them to, like, go into the past. Because there's, like, emails that you can read in this game, I think, where they talk about, like, a time-traveling piece of Eden. So I think they found that and then, like, developed the Animus off of that.
Did they look into the future when coming up with the idea for the Animus?
Well, I think it was more the past, because the Animus
I'm sorry,
the
past.
Future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my fault. I mean, like the time traveling Eden, like the time traveling piece of Eden, it can go in the past or the future, or just the past.
I might have to read the email again. I'll probably show it when we get to later parts of this game, because I want to show off like all the emails and stuff. But
Yeah.
it's like a really late email in like the secret room that you get to in the late game.
Yeah, and the thing is that with the modern day of Assassin's Creed 1, when I first played Assassin's Creed 1, and this happened for years before I even realized this was a thing, but you actually have the ability to do interactions in the modern day that I wasn't aware of. I thought you could just explore, but not really do much, but it turns out there are actually some emails you can look at, and also some moments where you can, like, for instance, steal Warden Riddick's pen, and also interact with Lucy. And I was not aware of that until I think I watched, or not watched, I think I saw you do something with that, or you told me about this, or I think also Laser Z showcased something like this, and that's when I actually realized, and it sucks, because a lot of that is very substantial to the future of Assassin's Creed.
The only thing that I'm confused about is like stealing his pen, because I don't know what that does.
It gives you access. It's an access code to Warden Vidic's personal computer. It's stored on the pen.
It was just like some random thing you could do. Like, I always did it anyway just because it was funny, but I didn't understand the purpose of it.
Yeah, like Lucy has a pen. I think we even see her use her pen in order to access the computer. And I think she even gives you it. Like, couldn't you pick up Lucy's pen somewhere? Was it on the Animus or was it on a table, I think?
I think it was on the Animus.
Yeah, so that's what allows
like
it to work.
Thing next to her computer.
Yeah. But right now, we're going through the tutorial segment. You notice, if you were to come to this game after playing the other Assassin's Creed games, it's very different. So, the first thing is that you don't have any kind of medicine system. Your health just regenerates, and I think it only regenerates when you're not in combat. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think, like, what it is that it regenerates when you're not in combat, but, like, it also just, like, regenerates. Like, you get more health throughout the game because you get, like, better abilities, and it always gives you more health.
But the interesting thing about the health regeneration system on this game is, with the health loss system specifically, it's not just damage that causes you to lose synchronization. So, because of the fact that we are trying to relive Altair's memories the way he did them, and that's just how it works, if you try to do any kind of action that is not befitting of an assassin, or is not befitting of Altair's character, such as killing a civilian, it actually drains you of your health. And you lose one life bar, which is interesting, and then they changed this in the other Assassin's Creed games where you have a limit of 3 civilian kills before it desynchronizes you and it forces you to restart your checkpoint. Right now, we're being introduced to the social status icon, and you'll notice that in the top left, the Abstergo symbol has opened and there's a circle inside of it. So when it's yellow, it means you're being seen by enemies, but they're not really considering you a threat. But whenever you are in some kind of socially undesirable situation, like right now, where an enemy is investigating a dead body, the circle will turn red. And then when you go into combat, you'll notice that the Abstergo symbol blooms, and then it turns red. So that means you're fully in combat. And it's turned yellow right now, so once it turns yellow, you have the ability to hide. And on this game, the enemies do not have the ability to actually search hiding spots. They changed this in Assassin's Creed 2.
Yeah, but even in AC2, there's only a certain enemy type that does it. I think so.
The other enemies can do the same, but they only do that if you escape combat. When they're just doing like the action normally, like whenever they're just doing it as part of their normal routes, it's only the Seeker that seems to search for hiding places. Yeah.
I thought it was just the Seeker.
Yeah.
Because he's literally called a Seeker.
But moving on, we are now going to be introduced to the social status icon again, but this time with anonymity, because this game is actually one of the few stealth games that actually encourages social blending. Only the blending on this game is a little limited compared to how it is in the likes of AC2, Brotherhood, and Revelations. Because really, you can't blend with the crowd like normal. You can't just go between a bunch of guys. It has to be a specific set of individuals. Like you see those scholars right there. If you press X inside of that group, Altair will assume a blending posture, and he will actually automatically follow the group. And you also have the ability to hide on benches, and also you can also hide inside of roof gardens and inside of hay bales. And that is how the stealth mechanics work. There is no kind of crouch mechanic on this game, which is considered to be a pet peeve of many people, because the whole idea of not having a crouch button in a stealth game just seems like a very, very alien concept. And it took them until AC Unity to actually put in a crouch mechanic. But I think one of the main reasons why they put in a crouch mechanic for Assassin's Creed Unity was because the social blending wasn't really encouraged that much in AC Unity compared to the likes of these games. Would you consider that a likely reason, Pcol?
Yeah, I think in Unity they encouraged more I don't know what you would call it, but like hiding behind objects. I don't know if that has like a specific name.
A cover system.
Yeah, but like they encourage that more than like blending in crowds, even though you could still do that.
Yeah. And also, we were just introduced to Eagle Vision just then. So, Eagle Vision is a special ability that certain individuals have when they have trace amounts of Isu DNA inside their bodies. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to look at the world from a different perspective, essentially. It allows you to see the world differently based on how the character is feeling. So, you'll notice you have white targets, red targets, blue targets, and golden targets. So, white target is just neutral, nothing really significant about this individual. Red means enemy, blue means ally, and then gold means a target. And I myself have been kind of confused with the whole concept of Eagle Vision, and I know you've explained it to me many times that it's how the user reads that world around them, and that's what allows them to be revealed. But even then, I feel like there are some aspects of Eagle Vision that aren't properly explained within the lore of Assassin's Creed. And also in Assassin's Creed Revelations, they changed this mechanic where rather than just knowing exactly who your target is, you have to search among these gold targets, and I don't know why they changed that with Assassin's Creed Revelations. Seems very odd, and I know it's like Ezio is at the height of his prowess when it comes to mastering the Eagle Vision ability, but it just seems like a step backwards in its effectiveness. So I find that to be a very odd concept. And furthermore, on this game, on Assassin's Creed 1, you can only use Eagle Vision while you're full on health, but the thing is that you can only use it while you're standing still, so there's really no reason to use Eagle Vision, and furthermore, because of the fact that the targets are marked on the minimap, there's never any reason to use it.
I do not know.
So Eagle Vision is rendered pretty pointless on this game.
Else he would not have asked me to retrieve it.
I mean, I think it's like in addition to like the first person mode, because if you're not in full health and you use Eagle Vision, it just puts you in the first person mode. And a lot of games back in like 2007, like this game had a first-person mode.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of the whole generation of 2007, this game was made before the advent of mocap cutscenes. Like, in 2008, we got introduced to Uncharted 1, and Uncharted 1 was the very first game to actually utilize mocap cutscenes. But when you look at the cutscenes on this game, like you see right here, it is playing a cutscene, but you can actually move during this moment because they're not in-game cutscene. I mean, they are in-game cutscenes, but you're not really put into a pre-rendered cutscene. So you're able to move around during these moments, and you also have the ability to press X when you see white flashes on your screen in order to get a cinematic view.
Yeah.
And
there's actually an achievement on the Xbox 360 version, I think, for doing all of them.
yeah, and there's no trophies on this game because the whole idea of trophies wasn't introduced in PS3 during this time.
Yeah, but I'm playing on the PC version anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I even talked about this in my Resident Evil 6 No Hope Difficulty in Life Class walkthrough of Ada's campaign, but I need to find some way to record my PS3, and I know like Pcol has recommended using an Elgato system, but the HDCP on the PS3 is problematic at best.
There's a way to bypass it if you get like an HDMI splitter, but I don't fully like understand how to use it, so I don't even have one.
Yeah, and I can't even use my PC because I'm using a MacBook Air, and not a lot of games are on MacBook Air, and I think I'd have to purchase Steam as well in order to play games.
Well, Steam isn't the only place for games on PC, but it's like the biggest place.
Yeah, but that right there is the main antagonist, or not one of the main antagonists of this game. His name is Robert de Sable, and he is a Templar. And this is showing the whole conflict between assassins and Templars right now. And you see the classic hidden blade, which has to be one of the most unique weapons I've ever seen in the game. And the mechanism involved with the hidden blade is that you do a specific set of movements with your muscles via the flicking of the wrist in order to extend the blade. Although I believe in Assassin's Creed 2 there is a codex page that you can get that showcases that the user can actually put on a button, or not a button, sorry, a ring on their ring finger to actually extend the blade, because during the time of the Third Crusade, before the events of AC2, the assassins had to actually sacrifice their ring finger in order to wear the hidden blade, because it allowed easy access with the hidden blade, and also it's to ensure that the blade doesn't get in, like it's to ensure your finger doesn't get in the way of the blade. And this was actually touched upon in Assassin's Creed Origins. So in Assassin's Creed Origins, what happened was Bayek, the very first man to actually utilize the hidden blade, he accidentally cut off his ring finger when he accidentally triggered the blade, and that whole sacrifice of the ring finger actually led to the tradition you're seeing right now. So if you actually pan in on Altair's left hand, you can actually see a bit of it right there on his left hand. He doesn't have his ring finger.
Is the master in his tower?
And interesting thing, in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Basim, he did sacrifice his ring finger, but he was actually wearing something over his wound, yet Altair doesn't have it right here. Seems rather,
Well, that was kind of something they added in Origins, because after the ring finger gets cut off in Origins, Bayek kind of wears like a thing on his finger, on his wound.
Yeah, but... And I think maybe you could argue that the glove that Altair is wearing probably has some kind of covering over the ring finger.
Yeah. I kind of doubt they would just kind of like leave the wound open like that.
Yeah, obviously they'd have to cauterize it or something, or just prevent infection. But this whole tradition of the ring sacrifice was lost in AC2 because Altair acknowledged that it made it easier for the Templars to identify them. And what was the other reason for the banning of the ring sacrifice? Or is that the only reason?
I think it might have been like the only reason, other than just like easier use of the hidden blade.
Yeah, probably.
He returns at last.
But here are a couple of characters. This is a boss. We actually see him in Assassin's Creed Revelations. And
he's actually voiced by Nolan North, which like I didn't even know for like a few years after I played this game the first time.
oh, really? He's voiced by Nolan North. I had no idea.
You can kind of hear it in like his first words that he says, but like after that, it's kind of hard to notice.
But they didn't really go into a lot of detail with the facial models, obviously, so Abbas kinda looks no different to the other NPCs you're seeing right now.
I mean, this was recorded on my PC, so it probably looks a little better than the PS3 version, which is the only other version I own, but like, it still doesn't look that great.
Can you actually play this game at 60 FPS on PC with the right mods?
Probably with like the right settings, but there's not like a lot of mods that exist for Assassin's Creed, because people just don't mod the series.
Yeah, I mean, they mod other series. I mean, Resident Evil, they mod
Everyone's
crazy.
focused on modding Resident Evil so they can make naked women.
Yeah, it's despicable. But let's not talk about that. So this right here, this is Al-Mualim. So he currently seems like an ally right now, and yet this is the confusing part. This is one of the confusing things that I mentioned about Eagle Vision. But when you use Eagle Vision on Al-Mualim during this moment, he's blue. Yet Eagle Vision is supposed to show the true nature of individuals. I mean, that's why the gold targets exist. Yet for some reason, we don't see Al-Mualim as being red in Eagle Vision during this moment.
Well, it's because he's like Altair sees him as an ally right now.
I suppose, but
And, like, I think also another reason is that like he probably doesn't ally himself with the Templars right now, or like doesn't evil right now at this point in the game.
yeah, but I thought he always was evil. But he still like feigned he still feigned his loyalty to the Assassin Brotherhood, despite knowing their tenets.
His character is confusing because they make it different in every game that mentions him. Like in Rogue, I think they straight up mention he just was a Templar, but then in like this game they make it seem like he was just like a delusional guy who got corrupted by the Peace of Eden. So it's kind of like conflicting evidence.
Wait, I'm sorry, did you say Rogue?
Yeah.
Oh, I did forget he was mentioned in Rogue. I don't remember this.
Remember the computer stuff?
I do remember the computer stuff, but I forgot that he was mentioned in Rogue, and I can't remember what he said in Rogue.
Literally, the video that you get is like literally the first one, like when they first teach you about hacking computers.
Well, I can't remember Rogue for the life of me because I haven't played that game in so long, and it's not that good of a game.
Oh, I think it's gonna go on my channel anyway when we get to it.
Yeah, and also in Revelations, Altair did acknowledge that the apple did corrupt Al-Mualim, but the thing I'm confused about is when exactly did it corrupt, because assuming that Al-Mualim was always loyal to himself, I mean, could you argue that he was originally with the Templars, but then at some point after obtaining the apple, he cut ties with both the Assassins and the Templars?
I mean, if he's the mentor of the Assassins, I'm pretty sure he was always with the Assassins.
Not always, but maybe at some point in his mentorship, he allied himself with the Templars. I mean, that's why he was seeking out the artifact, wasn't it? That's what it seemed like. That's what's implied when you talk with Robert de Sab at the end of his boss fight.
It's good you've come. We need your help.
I don't even know. They don't really go too much into it.
Attack the village.
He just kind of turns evil for no reason and is like, okay, he's evil now, kill him.
Well, I mean, not really for no reason, because assuming he was... I mean, if you were to make the argument that he was loyal to the Assassins, but the apple corrupted him, it makes a lot more sense, because with the current knowledge at the moment, we think that Al-Mualim doesn't have any Isu DNA, so therefore he is susceptible to the apple's corrupting influence, and that is something I forgot to mention. With the pieces of Eden, with the specific artifacts that you get throughout the games, if one does not have the Isu DNA, and this is my interpretation of it, but if one doesn't have the Isu DNA, the ability to control the effects of the piece of Eden can be very hard to do, and it might end up corrupting you in the end. Like, I think with the apple, for instance, like, anyone can wield the apple, but having the focus necessary to focus the apple's influence on other individuals and not just on yourself is something specific to Isu DNA. And this was actually something that I had a question about in Assassin's Creed Odyssey with the way they portrayed Layla going through those trials in order to learn about the Staff of Trismegistus. And we'll talk about this at some other point, because I think this is a little too early to talk about this. But right now, the Templars have found us, so Altair at this point is a very brash individual who kind of renegades against the whole tenets of the Creed. So he first of all killed an innocent civilian at the very beginning when we first play as him, and then he did not try to be stealthy when trying to take out Robert de Sable, so that's the second tenet he broke, and then the third one is he compromised the Brotherhood here by causing the Templars to find them. Although, I mean, did the Templars, they weren't aware of Masyev's existence before Altair committed that problem at the very beginning of the game, right? Or were they always aware?
I don't know if that's ever explained. I feel like they always were aware, but just like never had like a reason to attack it until Altair did the thing.
Probably. And at this point, the assassins, they don't really hide in plain sight that much, because as you see, they have a massive fortress, and they have banners. But then Altair changed that whole philosophy in Assassin's Creed 2 when trying to change the ways of the Creed. So the assassins went underground after Altair published the Codex. Yet there are moments in yet why is it that in Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood, and also in Assassin's Creed 3 and Rogue, there are moments where you can see the assassin banner, like in Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood in Monteregione, you could see the assassin banner. And then in Rogue, they obviously had like the gang leaders, like the gang leader flags, which makes no sense at all, and it completely goes against the very thing that Altair was trying to do. And then also in it doesn't really.
Even
that's one of the confusing parts.
When you join the assassins, Edward gets like the assassin symbol on the flag at the top of his ship.
Yeah, but I think that's mainly as a gameplay thing, not really as like a canon thing. Yeah, so but like in Rogue, for instance, you're actually the flags do count as a story element, because you're literally cutting them down. You're going into an actual cutscene. Like, it makes no sense at all, and it's one of the main problems with Rogue's interpretation of the assassins, and they really messed up the colonial assassins. I mean, then again, you could argue that maybe the ideologies of the colonial assassins weren't exactly in tune with that of the more conservative assassin ideals. And I guess also
colonial assassins are just stupid.
Yeah, like in Assassin's Creed Rogue, that's one of the main reasons why the story wasn't as good, because what they tried to market Assassin's Creed Rogue as is a game where you're actually playing on the Templar side. But in actuality, what they've done is they've swapped the names of the groups. So the assassins in the game are actually Templars, and then the Templars are actually assassins.
Rogue is literally just a game where you play as an assassin, but you're just a Templar.
Yeah, and I originally didn't give any thought to this. I just thought, maybe there are some moments where, like, even if these groups are going to profess such ideals, there are just moments where they kind of go against that, because that is kind of a nature of human beings. I mean, look at the hypocrisy of Christianity, for instance. I mean, how many people actually follow Christianity? I mean, the whole idea of Christianity is, like, the hypocrisy of Christianity is mocked in novels, so I kind of use that same kind of context when looking at the assassins in Rogue. But when you consider that Assassin's Creed Rogue is a game, and a game has to have a set, like, tenet, or like a set of ideals, it just kind of, like, it violates that greatly with the way they tried to portray the assassins and Templars in Rogue, and it makes no sense. And we have just stopped the Templars' attack on Masiev, and this is where
flashback in, I think, Brotherhood, maybe at the beginning of the game.
I thought it was AC2 that showed this.
It shall be a long while before
Whatever,
he
I don't
troubles
know.
us again.
They're both Ezio games. Who cares?
Yeah.
Do you know why it is you
But this is where Al-Mualim is going to kind of give the illusion that he's going to kill Altair. And I still wonder why Al-Mualim spared Altair in this moment, despite the fact that he broke all tenets of the Creed. And breaking all tenets of the Creed normally means that man is put to death. That's kind of the conservative ideals of the assassins.
Because, like, this kind of goes back to him being, like, a Templar, because he wanted all the other Templars dead so he could have the apple for himself, and he wanted Altair to kill them for him.
Yeah, but he could have used any other assassins, so why specifically Altair? I mean, I think he does talk about Altair's capabilities, like things that make him so different from the other assassins.
Well, probably because, like, he wanted to, like, I guess, like, have Altair, like, regain his dignity or something, but, like, as a ploy to get the apple for himself.
And I think in like remember the very first time we played as Altair in Assassin's Creed Revelations. I mean, it seems like Al Mualim holds Altair in such high regard compared to the other assassins, and you know Abbas kind of implies that Altair seems to get a lot more respect from Al Mualim. At least that's his perception, which is most likely wrong. So it just seems like Al Mualim has more respect for Altair compared to the other assassins. So maybe that was one of the other reasons why he chose to spare Altair in this moment.
Well, I think another thing with like a boss being mad at Altair all the time is like, I think the backstory was that like a boss's dad and Altair's dad were like friends, but then like something happened, and then like a boss's dad like came into Altair's room and like killed himself at his feet or something.
Well,
and
the something
blamed Altair for that.
The something for that was I believe Abbas's father had actually betrayed the order at some point. He did some kind of act that would be considered a betrayal, but he regretted his actions, and he went into Altair's room and he killed himself.
And then the boss blamed Altair for that.
Yeah, but really like did such a enmity towards Altair exist before the events of Abbas's father's death? Because I could have sworn they were rivals, not really like friends.
I think they were rivals, but I don't know if it was like explicit hate like it is now.
I'm still pulling.
I mean, not really right now, more so in Revelations, like, because it's not really indicated that Abbas has such a huge hatred of Altair until after the events of AC1. Like, directly, like, after the events of AC1, where we see Altair burn Al Mualim's body, which is actually considered a sacrilege in the Assassin customs, which I find very odd, because it just seems like cremation just seems to be a more like peaceful way to
like not just like an assassin thing, but like a Middle Eastern thing to not burn bodies.
That's odd though, because I mean maybe that's just me. Like,
I think it's like
applying my own biases.
Thing. I don't fully understand it.
Yeah, but we go back into the modern day here, and this is where you do a slight interaction here where you get to hear this. Oh no, I'm sorry. Is that later on or?
No, it's here. It's just the thing took a bit to show up for me.
Yeah. And we
also,
only have
this
about...
bathroom, there's towels in here, and for some reason, every single time you go into the bathroom after you come out of the Animus, they change positions. Like, I don't know what's the point of that, or even if you know, like, what that is, but, like, I plan on, like, showing all the towel positions, because it's kind of weird just, like, seeing them randomly change positions every single time you come out the Animus.
Yeah, and also you can change the camera angle during this moment, like several times. Yeah, but the game doesn't really
walk inside the shower.
Yeah, and yeah, we only have about like 3 minutes left in this video. But any concluding thoughts for this first part?
I need to record this more because I haven't recorded any other parts of this yet.
Yeah, and I'm still trying to get the third part of my Assassin's Creed 2 dual commentary with Pcol done, and that's how the progress is going on this so far. But we're going to be exploring, we're going to be playing as Altair again in the next part, and we're going to be actually doing the whole point of Assassin's Creed, which is the hunting of the Templars, and that's really where the game is going to open up a lot more, and it definitely shows the framework for how the later Assassin's Creed games would go. And this game, like just as a concluding thought with this game didn't try to rely on the mainstream media for inspiration. It tried to be its own thing, and with that came the advent of Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, and Revelations, and the other good Assassin's Creed games. This game, Ubisoft had a lot more confidence with what they were doing. I just feel like with the Ubisoft right now, they just don't have the confidence, and they've just become the new EA at this point.
Yeah, and they just like copy everything they see. Like, I remember when Origins was coming out, everyone was just like, oh, they just copied Zelda Breath of the Wild because you could climb every single thing, even though there's no visible handholds.
What do you mean?
Yeah, but
and then Odyssey came out, and everyone was like, oh, it's the next Witcher 3.
Farm?
Yeah, but that...
Yeah, that's what they call the
I mean, not only is The Witcher 3 not good, but, I mean, like, to those who like The Witcher 3, I mean, Laser Z loves The Witcher 3, and he chastised Ubisoft like crazy for... Or, not he chastised those individuals for calling Assassin's Creed Odyssey the next Witcher 3 when it's such a step back in quality. It's not just a bad Assassin's Creed game, it's a bad game overall. And I'm the type to actually identify objective issues like that. Like, objectively, it's a terrible RPG game, and I personally am not a big fan of RPG games with the kind of ideologies they embrace. Like, these action-adventure games like Assassin's Creed, where they don't rely upon RPG elements, they actually feel great. You know, they actually respect their gameplay, they respect their story. Like, I originally judged this game based on difficulty. You know, I was kind of wanting Assassin's Creed to have more difficulty, but now that I think about it, I don't want that anymore. I want a fleshed out story with satisfying gameplay. Because when Ubisoft decided to go the route of difficulty, they impacted the overall quality of their future games, and they just don't have any idea of what difficulty is, and with that, it's just...
Assassin's Creed didn't have difficulty settings into Origins, and now the difficulty is just like fake challenge of like damage sponge enemies and just RPG numbers flying everywhere and just bad like game design elements.
Yeah, and it's pointless because you just got to get your level high enough to actually do the right damage.
And even leveling up is pointless because the enemies level with you, especially in Odyssey.
I mean, you can turn off auto level in Origins, can't you?
Yeah, but in Odyssey and Valhalla, if you're playing on nightmare difficulty, they lock it to like a certain level, and you can't turn it off.
No, but that sucks. But we're gonna have to conclude the video right here. We have about 30 seconds, so all I gotta say, guys, is stay tuned for the future parts. Thank you all for watching, and you take care now.
Yeah, what he said. Yep. Even though it's my video going on my channel.
Yeah, I guess I gotta leave this guy up to this.
Yeah, so we'll see you when I record the next part and then upload that.
Yep, see you guys.